Hello, and welcome back to the Cinema Lounge podcast, where we just chill and talk about movies. My name is Garrett Inman. I am your host today, and today I have a very special guest. I'm also trying to let the music play out a little bit. We got a different setup again this week, and part of it is messing with the live stream software that I started using when we first tried this podcast out, and it did not work for us. But now I have a new computer and a lot of other stuff. So we're just kind of messing around. All right. Here is our guest, Broc.
How's it going? I'm over here to his left.
To his left, yes.
It's me.
This is our studio.
Yep.
If you guys were in here, you would just see a pile of pillows on the bed.
We're making an attempt to smooth out the sound. And
Yes.
me hitting the mic right there probably didn't help. But,
oh no, it's great.
We're getting it. We're making it work.
Yep. Broc has been on the podcast before.
Yep. One whole episode.
The
first one. The most important one. So
yes. The one where I had no idea what I was doing, and now I still have no idea what I'm doing.
We have a better idea. He has a better idea of what he's doing.
Yes. So today we're talking about Tenet.
Yep.
Christopher Nolan's movie from last year. Kind of his take on a James Bond movie. I read like an interview where he really likes James Bond, and I think this was just kind of his homage to it while also doing his Christopher Nolan thing.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, we are going to get into the news, the movie news this week, and it's only going to be playing for me. So, Broc, if you want to walk over here and look at it, but yeah, enjoy.
What? I can't understand what you're saying. You said. Alright, that's good. This Week in Movie News is brought to you by pointless remakes, reboots, sequels, whatever. MCU boss Kevin Feige has stated that more MCU prequels are in the cards. And I'm not entirely sure how I feel about that. We got a new first look at the new suits for the Shazam family in the upcoming Fury of the Gods movie, and if you notice, the actress who plays Miss Marvel also plays the young version of herself, recasting the actress from the original movie. Snow White is getting the live-action treatment. Yay! Disney has cast actress Rachel Zegler, whose debut movie will be West Side Story, directed by Steven Spielberg, coming out later this year, in the titular role. We've received reports from the set of Indiana Jones 5 that the 78-year-old star Harrison Ford got himself injured in a fight sequence. And I hope he feels better. but also, you kind of saw this one coming. Speaking of Indiana Jones, Elizabeth Olsen stated in an interview for her upcoming movie, Doctor Strange 2, that this movie will be scarier than Indiana Jones. I don't know exactly which Indiana Jones movie she's referring to, but for the most part, these are action-adventure movies. But, yeah, cool, dude. Scarlett Johansson is set to star and produce a movie based off of the Disney World ride Tower of Terror. That sounds about right. Jensen and Danielle Ackles are making a spin-off of the long-running CW show Supernatural called The Winchesters, blindsiding Jared Padalecki, the co-star of Supernatural, in the process. A new title for an upcoming Transformers movie has been announced. It will be called Rise of the Beast. It'll come out in 2022 and will star Anthony Ramos and Dominique Fishback. Trailer time! We had a lot of trailers released this week, so we're just going to run through all of them. First off, we have the trailer for the upcoming Snake Eyes movie, and it looks exciting. Then we already have another trailer for the upcoming Boss Baby sequel, which actually portrays some emotional growth and conflict in this movie.
Me and Precious.
We also got another trailer for the upcoming James Gunn adaptation of The Suicide Squad, and I will say it over and over again. I'm excited for this.
Ratatouille, what do you got? Bird.
Then there was a trailer for the upcoming Season 2 of the Apple TV Plus TV show Ted Lasso, and this is one of my favorite currently running series. Please go check it out if you haven't.
Butts on 3.
Works for me. 1, 2, 3. Butts!
We also got a trailer for Jordan Peele's adaptation of The Candyman, which looks pretty spooky.
Say his name.
And we got another spooky trailer in the Halloween installment, Halloween Kills.
I'm coming for you, Michael.
We also got a trailer for Sing 2, and it looks like Sing 2.
Got the robot activating piggy power. Beep beep boop boop.
Lastly, there was a trailer for Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, which shows Abomination in a cameo at the end fighting what looks to be Wong. Cool.
Thank you.
Finally, let's wrap up with some good news. Even though most of this was good news. And you know what? Never mind. If you remember a few years back, the Smallville star Allison Mack got arrested for being a part of a sex cult. She has released to the police some audio of conversations between her and the sex cult leader Keith Raniere. And if I mispronounce that name, F that guy, he doesn't deserve no respect. But in those tapes, they talk about the branding ritual they go through for each girl that enters the cult, something that Raniere has denied any knowledge or involvement in. Mack is due to be sentenced on June 30th for her role in Raniere's sex cult, Inexvium. I don't know how the crap to pronounce that, but watch out for it. Don't join it. It's a no-no. On that, up good news? I don't know. On that note, that has been this week in movie news. I'm gonna go to the bathroom now. What?
Yep, that was it. That was the first time we played it live on a very small screen. Last time I did that for a guest was Duncan a couple weeks ago, and it was fun. It was enjoyable, but we were in a different room with a giant TV in front of us. So,
yeah, I kind of just had to crawl over the bed for a good couple of minutes, but it's okay. I made my way back. So
yeah. So let's get into some of the bigger news of this. I know some of it, like the Supernatural thing. Neither of us have seen Supernatural,
so
we don't care. It was just
not
something
at
that
all.
came up. It was a light news week, so I needed to include something.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so Kevin Feige said that there are more prequels in the cards.
yeah.
Like I know, I guess that's in tandem with Black Widow coming out, and like I said in the thing, I have no idea how I feel about it, because
Yeah.
on one hand, a prequel could work if it was with the right character.
Yeah, it depends, because if it's like one of the main characters, you know, here's an example of what I think would be a super interesting prequel, and I just thought of this, like a Hank Pym in his prime. I think
Yeah.
that'd be pretty sweet seeing that. But like, if we're gonna go to like, I don't know, I don't even know who
Like Tony's dad,
like Tony's dad or
something.
something. I don't
Yeah.
know, like
Where it's like
story arcs that have wrapped up.
story arcs that have wrapped
Yeah.
up or that don't matter all that much. Like the whole reason
Yeah.
my excitement for the Black Widow movie isn't as it has never been as high up as I
Yeah.
wanted it to be, was because they decided to do it after Black Widow's
Yeah.
dead. So
Definitely.
like her arc is wrapped up. What's the point in doing a prequel
Yeah.
about a dead character?
I feel you. I'm gonna hold out judgment until I see. I'm being a little more optimistic on this movie just because, you know, I like Marvel quite a bit, but I'm in the same boat in that this is a really weird way to kick off Phase 4, and the fact that they're thinking about doing more movies in a similar vein is a bit of a strange choice, because the MCU has always had a great forward momentum. It's always been like, that's his thing. It's just building and it keeps going to, you know, this big climax. So now we're kind of in the rebuilding phase, and we haven't really gotten started, but by the end of this year, I think it'll be pretty clear if people are going to be in it or they're going to be out.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Because they got a lot of properties coming out. They got, along with the 3 shows they've already started putting out, they got 4 movies and I think two more shows or so. So
Yeah.
a lot of stuff happening.
Yeah. And I like the idea of maybe doing a Hank Pym prequel, because that hasn't been anything that has been explored. But when you go back and start doing the prequels, it causes the franchise to lose that forward momentum, but also that opens up way too many opportunities for kind of plot holes to open up, and
I totally
that kind
get
of
you.
stuff.
Well, I mean, I guess technically Captain Marvel was a prequel, you know, so which, you know, wasn't the biggest. I mean, I don't really have a problem with the timeline of that movie being, but yeah, like prequels for like very established characters, it's a bit of a strange take, and I don't know. I guess Eternals is gonna kind of be like a prequel, because I've heard it kind of like spans across a lot of like, you know, the entirety of the universe or something like that. So
yeah.
If they can do it creatively, I'm down. But
if it's with the right characters, I think it'll be fine. But if they start going, oh, we're gonna bring Robert Downey Jr. back to do an Iron Man
show
prequel,
what he was doing between
yeah,
this movie and that movie or whatever.
Yeah. Then that
would not be a fan.
Yeah.
So it all just depends on how it plays out.
Yeah. Then we had the first look at the Shazam family. I meant to pull it up for you, but I didn't.
Yeah.
You saw it.
I saw the picture beforehand, and I think
Okay.
it looks. I'm a fan of the new suit design.
Yeah,
It looked pretty slick.
It looks way more sleek. Like the original looks a bit rubbery. If that's the right word.
And I think they were kind of going for like this like straight out of the comics feel, because you know, suits in the comics, they just, like the early comics, aren't going to have detail. It's just going to kind of be one color. But this is kind of the rendition that fits more in with like the traditional DCEU costume design, and I'm a fan. I like how it looks.
Yeah. I mean, nothing really for me to add to that. Then we have the Snow White live action movie.
Yep.
The thing that caught me off guard is the girl who got cast. Like on top of the whole, like, every time something like this happens, there's always the whole race-changing controversy where Snow White, I think, is described as having skin as white as snow. And I forget. I think she might be Latina, or she might. I don't know. The thing that was strange to me about it, though, was that she is not like a well-renowned actress or anything. Her first movie ever hasn't even come out yet.
Oh wow.
She's in West Side Story, the Steven Spielberg thing. Yeah. And that was just strange to me, because I think she has the lead role in it too. So she managed to get a lead role in a Spielberg movie for her first film, and now her next film, she's heading up a live-action remake of a Disney property.
Maybe she's just been doing stuff behind the scenes nobody knows about. Maybe she's just really good. Who knows?
Yeah.
Has she been in any TV shows or
no?
No.
Her on-screen debut will be West Side Story.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure. Let me look it up real quick. What was her name again? Rachel Zegler.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
There it is. She might be a singer.
Okay.
She is an American actress, singer, and YouTuber.
Huh.
So I guess YouTube was where she got her kickoff.
Wow.
But yeah, she's gonna be in Shazam too as well.
Interesting. Wow.
What
She's all over the.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dang, that's coming out 2023. Shazam.
Looks
Evidently.
like it. Dang. Yeah.
I was thinking that was next year. Like.
Me too.
Summer next year. That's unfortunate.
That's so strange looking at it. Just the 3 acting credits she's about to have are like 3 really big movies.
Big blockbusters, yeah.
That's crazy.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I know she's also had some controversy earlier this week too, where apparently she's like going after folks. People are going and looking at some of her old tweets from like last year or something, and she doesn't seem like a fun person to hang out with, to put it simply. Yeah, but. I mean, we'll see. By and large, the live action stuff is just not good. So
yeah, I've only seen Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin. I like Jungle Book quite a bit, but that's because I hadn't seen and that was kind of like the first one, so it kind of felt like a new idea. But at this point, it's just Yeah. My sister was watching. She's 9. She was like, We're gonna watch Lion King tonight. I was like, oh, are you? Which one? She's like, the non-animated. I was like, why don't you watch the animated? She's like, oh, I don't like that one. I was like, what? And she hadn't even seen it. I was like, come on. So,
wow.
I guess it really is. I mean, the kids don't notice, and I will say, if I was a kid, if I was 9, I'd probably lean towards the live action one.
Yeah.
So I don't really blame kids for liking the new stuff. It's just kind of how it is.
Yeah, that's usually how. I mean, it's how it was with the Star Wars prequels too.
Yeah, totally.
Like, adults didn't like it, but we grew up on. Well, yeah, we grew up on it, and we kind of are a little bit more lenient on it than most people. At least I am.
At least you are.
Yeah, you're a little different.
We'll do an episode on that.
Yeah,
we'll get there one of these days.
Future. But next we have the Indiana Jones 5 thing. Yep. Harrison Ford got injured. I was just like, I know there was I mentioned this last week, I think. There was some...
And get injured on The Force Awakens, too.
I think he did.
He broke, like his foot or something.
Yeah.
Was this his hip?
I want to say it was his hip.
Yeah.
Or his shoulder.
Something along those lines.
Yeah. But it's like, that just comes with being 78 years old.
Yep, and filming action movies.
Yeah. But...
filming scary movies. All right.
But... No, I was going to say, like, I know last week I briefly mentioning it because I didn't want to get super into it. But, I mean, this kind of... I don't know if you saw any of this, but, like, James Mangold kind of got in a bit of beef with a little bit, a YouTube guy. But the YouTube guy was basically like, I'm not excited for this movie because X, Y, and Z. And one of them was like, Harrison is ungodly old for this role.
Yeah.
And James Mangold kind of got into a back and forth with this guy. But... yeah, I feel like this happening kind of will probably make this YouTube guy go like, see, I told you. But, I mean, once again, we'll have to see like some footage to see how well Harrison is still in this role.
Well, I know there's going to be some de-aging shenanigans going on. I don't know if it's going to be the whole movie. And you could make the argument like, well, it worked with Irishman. Well, the Irishman's not really an action movie, and even then, you could still tell like their movements, even though they got the face of a 40-year-old, they got the body language of an 80-year-old.
Yeah,
so
and with this being an action adventure, it's just
you're gonna have to. There's gonna be a lot of stunt doubles.
It's a lot more physically taxing.
Totally.
Yeah.
So, James Mangold did Logan, right?
He did Logan, Ford versus Ferrari.
Okay. Pretty good track record. Mm-hmm. 2 really solid movies. We'll see how it plays out. I'm not looking forward to it. I gotta be honest.
Yeah.
There's not really much other than him being involved with the movie because I trust him as a director, but
Yeah.
I don't see any point of this existing at all. I don't think anybody really wanted it. But
Yeah.
who knows? It could be great.
Hopefully
Probably
it is.
not. But I'd much rather it be good than bad. So
Yeah. Yeah. No, I hope he gets better. I can't say I didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
But yeah, it sucks when you get injured on set, which I think happens a lot more than people realize.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Next, Scarlett Johansson is going to be starring in a Tower of Terror movie.
Okay.
I think Disney is like just trying to find their next pirates
Yeah.
because they're doing a Jungle Cruise,
That's right. Yeah.
and I feel like they were doing something else. But like they did a stint of theme park based rides back in like the 90s or early 2000s with like Haunted Mansion and crap.
Yeah.
And the only one that worked was Pirates.
And it worked well.
And it worked
So,
really well. And now that I'm assuming Pirates is done, so
Yeah.
because the whole Johnny Depp Amber Heard thing. So I'm assuming that's pretty much done. I know like there was some rumors of either Margot Robbie or what's her name, the girl who plays Nebula, Karen Gillan.
Karen Gillan, that's it. Yeah.
Being like the new Jack, but being like the female redhead pirate from the new version of the rides. But
Okay.
I'm pretty sure Disney's just going, yeah, this
Would
this
it
series
be
is dead
like
in the-
a soft reboot type deal?
It might be.
Well, here's the thing about Pirates. It doesn't work because of Jack. It works because of Will. You know? Like, I really think Will and... what's her name? Keira Knightley. Her
Elizabeth.
character. Elizabeth. I really think Will and Elizabeth are the main characters. Like, and Jack... I mean, he's probably the greatest supporting character known to man.
Yes.
But the story doesn't revolve around him.
Yeah.
He's just kind of a vehicle to get, the plot moving and entertain the audience and, just be a fantastic character.
Yeah.
So the fact that they're looking to find a replacement for Jack kind of shows they don't really have the greatest grasp of what made the movies great to begin with.
Yeah. Well, first they ditched Elizabeth and Will after the third
And
one.
I haven't seen past the third. I saw the fifth one
long
in
time
theaters
ago.
in
We tried to
2017.
do a podcast.
The original, that was
Yeah,
the original
we tried to start
first
up
podcast.
a podcast in like 2017, and we had no idea what we were doing. We had
Yeah.
crappy mics. We were in my basement,
Yeah.
with a like 10-year-old laptop, and we uploaded 2 episodes, and then to SoundCloud, and realized that you had to pay to continue uploading.
Very much a failed attempt, but
Very much.
we
But,
got some more steam now. We got some better gear, but
yeah, we're a bit older. We kind of know what we're doing a little bit.
slightly. Yeah.
Slightly.
But yeah, I think I don't even remember that movie. I saw it. I don't remember most movies I haven't seen in like 4 to 5 years unless it had like a legit impact. But that movie was just in one ear out the other. But I really do love the first 3. I think it's a great trilogy, and I think it works because of Will and Elizabeth. I mean, they're the ones that get the after credit scene. They get the, everything revolves around them. So. Yeah. I think if they're gonna continue the franchise, I'm not looking forward to too much of it.
Yeah, if you're gonna take out the like 3 characters that made it work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got a bit off on a tangent.
Yeah, we did a little bit.
Tower of Terror. I think it's based off.
Oh yeah, we're talking about Tower of Terror.
Yeah, I was looking at it and I'm going, what were we talking about? No, Tower of Terror. I'm
nothing
pretty
to do-
sure.
okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Tower of Terror is like based off of the Twilight Zone.
Okay.
So I don't really
That might be
understand.
interesting then. I've never
Yeah.
done the ride, but
I've ridden it once, and I think I remember they do the whole
Yeah.
like do 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 do
Yeah.
yeah. So it could be interesting, but at this point, then why not just make it another Twilight movie?
yeah,
But-
totally.
Yeah. And granted, they tried it. Jordan Peele did a Twilight TV show a couple years ago, and it kind of bombed.
It had a pretty sweet Super Bowl ad.
Yeah.
I will say. You remember that?
I think I do. Yeah.
It was like it looked like it was. They edited it to where it looked like it was coming back from a commercial break, and then it kind of like glitched out and was like, "This is the yeah."
Okay, yeah, that's cool.
So it was pretty sweet.
Yeah.
That's all I like. I didn't hear anything about it afterwards. So.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. We skipped over the Doctor Strange
Doctor
thing because
Strange.
we had a conversation about it, a lengthy one.
Here.
I thought
State
it was
your case, Garrett.
Okay, we about to have a debate. No, I just thought it was a very strange comparison to make because the Indiana Jones franchise is a largely action adventure series. So to say, our movie's gonna be scarier than that is just like I don't know how excited that would make me, especially when there's a lot of other horror kids movies out there like Monster House. But I will say I looked at a little bit of the interview and I forgot I was going to pull this up.
Yeah.
Because it makes sense why she is talking about Indiana Jones. Yeah. Did you read any of it?
No, I just saw the
little blurb. Yeah. There was like a little blurb on one of the posts that I saw it on. So apparently this guy was asking hold on, let me see if I can find it. Yeah. So this dude's interviewing Elizabeth Olsen, and he describes Doctor Strange as Indiana Jones in a cloak. So that's what got it the conversation.
So she
going.
said, "Oh, this is going to be scarier than Indiana Jones."
So that makes a bit more sense of like oh yeah, he's Indiana Jones in a cloak, and she goes, "Well, yeah, but this movie's going to be scarier than Indiana Jones." But then she decides...
That's so out of context. That makes so much more sense.
Yeah. She just... I think if she stopped there, it would have been fine.
Yeah.
She kind of indulges the Indiana Jones thing a little bit more, just saying like, oh yeah, it's definitely a more glossy Indiana Jones movie. I love Indiana Jones, but this is going to be a lot like... You could have stopped and just said, oh yeah, it's kind of like Indiana Jones, but it's scarier.
And it might be just because of the setting I saw the first two Indiana Jones movies in. But I distinctly remember Temple of Doom was the first one I saw. And I was like 8, so I was pretty young. I just remember the guy getting his heart just pulled out, and he's getting sent to this, fiery abyss. And then the heart starts beating faster and it catches on fire. And I just remember being like, oh my gosh, as a child.
Yeah.
And then it was really my dad. It was at my grandma's house. But my dad had the first two on VHS. And then I remember the scene when he's fighting like the jacked Nazi in front of the plane. And he ducks and the Nazi gets his head just kind of, and the blood splatters on the screen. And then the villain getting his like face melted
off. Yeah,
those scenes really stuck with me as a kid. So for me, I totally get the comparison because like there's some pretty creepy elements to those movies, and they're few and far between.
Yeah.
And it still is as you said, an action adventure movie, but I do get what she was getting at.
Yeah.
But
with the context, it just makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you, like, just read the headlines.
Yeah. And I was thinking about what a better comparison would have been. I think if she said something like Poltergeist, that would have been the perfect, like, okay, I know what we're in for now.
Yeah.
Because that movie is a lot of fun, but, man, there's some unsettling stuff in there.
Was it PG-13?
It was what created the PG-13. Actually... That movie and Temple of Doom were the reason PG-13 movies came into existence because they realized they needed something between this R and PG rating to where it was like still for like the teen, young adult demographic, but not quite, that full-on adult-oriented movie.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been a great comparison then. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll just skip over the Supernatural and Transformers.
I got nothing to say about those.
I've literally only seen one Transformers
movie.
I
don't know when the Transformers movie's taking place because Bumblebee was a prequel. It was a pretty good prequel. We'll see. I think it was like a soft reboot though. I don't know. I don't keep up with that franchise, so
Who knows?
I mean, I do keep up. I see all the movies, but you know they're pretty much in it one ear and out the other. I think Bumblebee's the best though. So.
I have only seen the 5th one.
That's one of the worst.
Yeah, my buddy forced me to go see it in theaters, and I kind of almost fell asleep in it.
Yeah.
Because it was just very boring to me and made zero sense.
Me and our buddy Mitchell went to go see it, and we were just like in awe of how bad it was at some points. Like those movies, not for me. We'll say that they're not for me.
Yeah. I feel like almost every episode I somehow mention Mitchell either directly or indirectly. Like, I think I talked about a couple weeks back Bo Burnham's Inside special, and I mentioned how he said Death Stranding is boring. And I said, "Oh, I really want to know what Mitchell thought about that." So the trailers that came out, you've only seen a couple of them, right?
I've seen one. I've seen the Shang-Chi trailer.
Dang. You got to get on that.
I mean, I've stopped watching trailers unless I really care about it.
Yeah.
Like, I'll usually know if I'm going to want to see a movie. And it's just kind of cool seeing him in a theater setting for the first time. Because, like, I'll be like, oh, is this trailer? So, I kind of just stop watching trailers on YouTube unless it's, like, a pretty big movie I'm looking forward to. Like a Marvel, Star Wars, whatever. It's a director I like or something.
Yeah,
so,
no, I understand that.
Yeah.
Because there is something just very unique about going to a theater and, like, a trailer starts up that you didn't know about.
Yes.
Like,
Tenet did that for me, so
yeah.
Hobbs and Shaw.
Yeah, I have not experienced that in a hot second since I was like a wee lad.
Well, also a really big one. It was at Tenet. They did the reveal for Dune. The first Dune trailer was shown at Tenet, and I thought it was great. It was a teaser actually, but I was like, this is amazing. So
yeah. Well,
that's a great feeling. That's like a little bonus to seeing a movie in theaters.
So I guess we'll just skip over talking about most of those. Yeah. I will say, the Snake Eyes one looked fun.
Yeah.
Ted Lasso is a great show.
If I had Apple TV, I'd watch it.
Yes. And then, so the Shang-Chi thing, the big thing about that was the Abomination cameo at the end.
Was it Abomination?
I think it was.
Because I saw some things where people were like, he's kind of like fish creature-like.
Yeah, that's how he looks in the comics.
Really? So, okay, I got you.
So when I saw a close-up of it, I said, oh, he looks more comic accurate. So,
interesting.
So
okay,
I think
cool.
I still think it's him.
Well, that probably cements it. The fact that he's got a different design. But a more accurate design.
A more comics. So that's how he looks in the comics. And I know people at home can't see it, but he's got like the gill looking thing on his head.
To the frame from the... Yeah, totally.
So I'm 100% sure that's Abomination. They basically just combined like the comic book version with the Incredible Hulk version. Yeah. And we know he's coming back in the MCU in She-Hulk. Yeah. So
great way to introduce him. And it looks like it's just going to be kind of like
a cage
scene.
Fight. Yeah.
What do you think of the trailer as a whole?
It looked fun.
Yeah.
I still am not a fan of Awkwafina as a comedian and her comedic timing. I think she's a much better dramatic actress. But overall, it looks like it'll be fun.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to some of the stunts. You can tell are like really rehearsed, and that's kind of an element that's been absent from a lot of Marvel movies. You got the Winter Soldier, but this looks like just another level of choreographed stuff and syncopated action scenes and whatever. So I'm really looking forward to it. It looks like a cool addition to the MCU. So.
Yeah. And then
this is where Phase 4 kicks off for me, really. Like a property that's like classic Marvel origin story, never before seen character.
Yeah. Kind of introducing a new phase.
Totally.
A new phase of the MCU, because Black Widow's just a
reminiscent.
Yeah. Just in case you were curious about what Black Widow was up to after Civil War, here she is.
Between two of the best Marvel movies, between Civil War and Infinity War. Here you go.
Yeah.
She's gonna have to get a haircut and dye her hair at the end. So, yeah, because that's how she shows up in
In Infinity War.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it for trailers.
Yeah. The final bit of news, I just this has really nothing to do with movies.
I've never heard of this. I was watching the video, I was like, what am I listening to?
Yeah. So when I was younger, like maybe 2012, I binge watched all of Smallville in about a year. And I got really into it. I really liked Allison Mack as Chloe Sullivan in the show. And I looked her up to figure out if she was in anything else. She got arrested shortly after the show ended.
Oh, wow.
So it turns out that she was a part of a sex cult, and I still have no idea how to pronounce it. It's spelled NXIVM. And she was like an upper lieutenant of it.
Oh,
and
wow.
basically they would just get these like up and coming actresses who really wanted to make it big or whatever, and like sell them on a dream, or they'll make it big. And this guy, Keith Raniere, I think it's how you pronounced it, but I don't care. So I'm gonna call him that.
Yeah.
So this guy Keith would basically just lead this cult, and basically like he would brand. I think it would actually be like a cattle brand, and he would brand these girls, and then he would basically force them to have sex with them. And it, like, in order to get into the cult, that's what you have to do. And then as a member of the cult, you just have to get more and more women to come in and bang this guy. And it just got really corrupt. He'd be super abusive, and it was just, it was a whole situation.
Yeah, I've never heard of this. This is news
Yeah.
to me for sure.
Yeah,
So
it is.
I'm guessing you mentioned he's going to court.
Yeah, so I think he got detained, but they've been like interrogating him and investigating this entire time, and so this is like our first big piece of evidence that you could like actually prosecute him on. And it surprised me because it's like, I'm pretty sure she got arrested like early 2010s, and it's just now like coming around of her releasing evidence, and she's finally getting sentenced and all this. It's just, it was a whole experience.
Okay, before we start actually, wait, what are we going to Tenet now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead and say what you were gonna say.
Before we start, so if there's one thing this podcast has had problems with, it's audio. And whenever you started the like recap video, I was like, oh man, here we go again. Before I realized what the bit was, I didn't realize the joke was, and then I saw he was talking backwards. I was like,
yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Classic.
I think I want to turn these more into skit type videos, and then actually get into the news, and I might have to edit it for like audio listeners, because they're just going to be sitting there and it's going to be like a full minute or two of just white noise.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, I was just like, I wanted to do some sort of skit that's like referencing the movie we're talking about, and we're talking about Tenet, so obviously like moving backwards and forwards through time, but it was also like a big joke, especially around this movie.
Yes,
is the
kind
audio,
of,
the audio
drowned
mixing
out immeasurably, and this movie is incomprehensible without subtitles.
Yes.
So, and like it sounds better on certain speakers. Like, me and my dad watched it on Sunday, and it was just off the TV speakers at my grandma's house, and I could pick out the audio sounded relatively clean.
Yeah.
But then here with the sound bar, like the audio was not nearly as sharp as it was over there. So there's something weird about it.
Yeah. I was listening to a podcast earlier this week, podcast called That's So Hollywood.
Yeah.
Smaller podcast, but they're doing some good stuff over there, and they had Sean Chandler on this past week,
nice,
talking about the Dark Knight trilogy, and one of them had noted that Dark Knight Rises is like, oh, this is when Christopher Nolan decided to go heavy on the audio mixing, and
that's what I've heard. And I didn't notice, well, there's not even like much dialogue in Dunkirk too, but in Interstellar, there's a couple of scenes where you're like, it's kind of hard to, that music's pretty loud, but overall I don't think Interstellar was too bad at it, or I mean Dunkirk, obviously there wasn't dialogue to drown out. So, but Tenet is far and away the worst offender of it.
Yes, yeah. And on top of the fact that some of the characters just have very heavy accents.
Yeah.
Specifically, I think...
Michael Caine.
Yeah, Michael Caine.
Michael Caine. What a painting.
He's very more, like, much more intelligible.
It's not even that, like, he's literally eating food he's like, all right, so we got this painting for you. It's forgery, and you got Catherine, what, you know. He's eating food.
Eating, so that's
with
slurring
the
his
accent.
speech. His mouth is full, and he's got this heavy accent with the freaking loud, the loud background noise. So it's just, I'm going to explain some really critical plot details so the audience understands.
Yeah, that scene, and that's a big scene in terms of like knowing what's going on with Kat. Mm-hmm. Like that's really her character revolves around this scene. So I mean, and when you read the dialogue, you're like, all right, got it, makes sense.
This is a movie that requires subtitles.
Like legit, like honestly,
because I'm just sitting there. And I remember watching it in theaters. I'm just like, I have no idea what the crap they just talked about or why this is important.
We're going to get into some positives. But for now, the first time I saw this, like halfway through, I was like, I don't think I like this movie much at all. Like, I was like, I don't know what's happening. Yeah. Like, I am genuinely trying to keep up with what they're saying and whatnot. But like the first 3 scenes are so jarring because you're given no context for the opera, you know. Then he's just being interrogated for what? Like he got caught, but what did he get caught doing? Like we don't know exactly what his mission was, you know. And then he's next thing you know he's on a windmill. Don't know why he's on a windmill and. Like, it doesn't feel like you know what's happening at all until you get to the Tenet room. I'm going to call it the Tenet room. Where she explains, like, kind of what the inverted bullet he saw was and, like, why, you know, like, explaining what the threat they're facing is. That's when I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Finally starting to get with it. And that, I mean, it's only, like, 15 minutes in. But those first...
Where it's just kind of... all of them are just doing stuff, and you just kind of have to really heavily infer, like, okay, I think this is what... Because the one thing that confused me about the opera scene was the Ukrainian guys they hired, because it seemed like, oh, they're working in tandem, they might be some KGB fellas, and then they go and do the whole heist, and when they come back out, immediately they go, oh, okay, we're going to torture you now. Yeah. So it was just very confusing to me. But... yeah, once you get into it and they start actually going, explaining
and I will say
the confusing stuff, concepts.
That's off the first viewing without subtitles.
Yes.
You get a better grasp of kind of what's going on. Like, I know it's a cliche and it's kind of a cop-out to say you got to see this movie twice. Mm-hmm. But you really do, to give it a fair chance. And I think I've enjoyed it more each time I've seen it. Round number 4 was last night, and each time there's just more lines of dialogue, and it just irons out the concepts. Even like little stuff where you were like, oh, I don't know about that. You're like, there's one line of dialogue you miss, and you're like, oh, okay, I'm tracking.
Yeah. I think first time through, it seems like a very lazy script. And then you, like, the more rewatches you get, you pick up on all that stuff.
And, like, just the concept is absolutely insane. The turnstiles and the inverted, people from the future sending stuff back. I think this is, like, my favorite depiction of time travel in any movie. Just, like, from a visual standpoint, like, this movie looks phenomenal. Yeah. Like, the special effects are some of the coolest I've seen, and it just looks flawless. Yeah. Like, it really convinces you half of these people are going forward in time. Half of these people are going backwards. Because there's not, like, like, when they're taking steps, the dirt comes to their feet. Like,
yes.
Like
something as simple as Robert Pattinson is inverted and he puts his hand down on like a very gravelly ledge. You just see the gravel kind of move towards his hand.
It's so precise. And filming this movie, like, I don't even know how you write this movie down, because how do you pitch this movie without the visuals? Because, you know, Christopher Nolan's got to get a budget for it, and he's like, all right, this is my script. Here's the concept. How do you describe this without seeing it? It is insane.
I think this was definitely just Christopher Nolan making a movie because he's Christopher Nolan. This is that definitive movie.
I think this was his just trying to portray an incredible concept, because like there's not much character work, but that's not really what this movie's about. You know, it's really about just this fascinating idea. And when you really understand that, it makes it really clicks. Because halfway through, there's not much like inverted things going on through the first like hour and a half. You know, you get the fight in the with his inverted self from the future who got sent back during the airport scene, and then you got the inverted bullet. But the first hour and a half, that's really it. You know, you get a brief explanation, but up until the car chase scene, which at first, the first time I saw it, I was like, you got this cool concept, and he's not even using it. There's nothing going... Like, and then, like, the rest of the movie, it's like, all right, you wanted some more Tenet stuff? The rest of this movie is backwards. Have fun. So,
I almost would think of it as like a slingshot, almost. Where first half is you go in this way, and then it just shoots you back through what just happened.
That's a great way of looking at it. And I remember, like, the twist that he was the one he was fighting. I like, whenever he was like, we got to go back to the airport, I was like, no way. I was like, oh my gosh. Because like it kind of clicked, and I was like, are they gonna do that? Are they about to do that? And then they did. I was like, that was such a rewarding moment and a great payoff. That might be my favorite like scene in the film. Just because, you know, it's played twice, and it looks like the other side looks reverse from both perspectives, which is so interesting. Like, how do they shoot that, you know? Like, it's, you know, I don't have much to say about that scene other than it's great, you know?
You mentioned earlier special effects. I looked up, before we started, some trivia. I was going to say I did some research, but really it was just going on IMDb and then looking up like a GQ article. But I looked up some trivia, and this movie was mostly practical.
It's insane.
Here are how many visual effects shots there were. There were 280. Compared to, it says right here, that's less than most modern romantic comedies. But also for like Christopher Nolan, Dark Knight had 650 VFX shots. Dark Knight Rises had 450. Inception had 500. Dunkirk had 429. And this had less than all of them. Which is really insane. So all these actors, all these stuntmen, had to learn how to fight, how to drive, how to speak reverse. Kenneth Branagh, he had to learn how to speak reverse for his role, and in a Russian accent. This man is an Irish guy speaking in a Russian accent, so he has to speak reverse in an accent.
That's crazy.
Like, it's hard enough to speak clearly backwards in your own like native tongue, but trying to speak it in another, like, not even in another language, in another accent is insane.
I just looked up how many VFX shots were in game. And, you know, that movie's half an hour longer, so you got some more running time. Just take a guess.
I would probably guess around 1,000.
Around 1,000?
Yeah.
2,500.
Holy crap. That's
It
insane.
says nearly 2,500 out of 2,700 shots in the film contain VFX.
Daggum.
So that puts into perspective how insane this movie was.
Yeah, that is about 1/10 of the visual
Yeah.
effects shots. And the fact that it looks as good as it does, and I think it's because it's practical.
Yeah.
It looks that good.
Yeah, like there's not one shot where you're like,
Yeah.
Like even like just simple stuff like in the finale there's a scene whenever like a part of a building got shot with the rocket launcher, so the rubble's on the ground, and the blue team, from their perspective, the rubble's gonna go back up. This guy's running over, and he runs over this like thing of this wall, part of the wall, and just shoots back up, and he like does like a little kickflip off of it. It's like, how do they shoot that? How do they make that look good?
Yeah, or something as simple as when you're first introduced to inversion, where the bullet's spinning around and then bounces off the table,
and it like he catches it, and then it's like an element in his hand, legit. So
yeah, it's crazy. All the intricate stuff going on. I think this is one of the visually just. It's confusing story wise, but like in terms of visuals, it just. It's very unique, but I think it's one of Nolan's best looking in terms of just the stuff he's able to do with it. Because all the stunts, practical, it's crazy. They drove cars backwards.
Yeah, to get the dirt spinning into the tire of the car instead of spitting out. They pulled it on like a tow cable with like a truck over like gravel, and they have the tires spinning forward. So when it stopped, it like spit it out, and then they reversed it. So it.
Oh, that's
like
cool.
I watched a short like 5-minute video about
cool.
how they did it.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
Yeah.
This man got so much freaking funding for it. He managed to rent a real 747 plane to crash into an airport. Holy crap!
And they said the only like visual effects they did, they were just removing tow cables. That was it.
Wow.
And they had to like do some like a little bit of fire stuff. But other than that,
like the big visual stuff is practical.
Yeah,
which is crazy insane. Especially like
any other movie,
hand-to-hand fighting.
I was about to say any other movie, but Mission Impossible, they'd do something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, and as I mentioned, the hallway, the fight scene with his inverted self, the protagonist. It, watching it forwards and backwards, it's just mind-numbing how it looks the way it does. So
yeah. This is a very technically impressive movie.
Yeah.
Besides the audio mix.
Besides the audio mixing, which is just so unfortunate.
Yeah.
Because it's got this big, and I'm not gonna say it's an easy fix. Because I don't know anything about it. But
yeah. Well,
for what you're doing, it can't be that hard.
Yeah. Yeah. If you specialize in it, I feel like it shouldn't be that hard. I mean, I am very bad at audio, and I'm doing a podcast, and I can manage to keep the surround sounds or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't even know the term for it. The
surrounding sounds.
I don't know. That I can keep that down at a little bit to where most of the time people can understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. This episode might just be awful.
Yeah, who knows? Audio. You might eat your words.
Yeah, I might have to eat my words. But yeah, I think that was the most mind-blowing thing. Also, apparently Robert Pattinson did a lot of the stunt driving for his character.
I read that as well.
Like, that's cool. But yeah, I looked up a GQ article on Tenet. And they were basically trying to explain the plot and everything. I read through it right before you got here. And let me see if I can pull it up on my computer. But like they talk about kind of what inversion is, the overall plot line. One thing that I did not realize, they go over like the evil people's plans, and I did not realize their whole goal was to invert Earth.
Yes.
Like
did you like after you saw it last night?
Even after, like, I still wasn't entirely clear on what they were doing.
Yeah.
Because it was just like, oh, they're going back in time and detonating a bomb.
Well, yeah, they put the algorithm in So I'm probably gonna confuse myself halfway through explaining what I think happened. But in the finale, so Sator got all the, or not Sator.
It's Sator.
Yeah, Sator. Sator got all the pieces of the algorithm left, and they were spread out over time. So what he does is he puts it in the drop zone. It blows up. It buries it. The futures people, they get a hold of it, and then I guess they send it back, and it gets buried, and then as soon as Sator dies, it detonates the inversion, and the entropy of the Earth gets inverted. So their goal was just to get the algorithm out of the drop zone before the bomb goes off.
Okay.
Because if they do, then the world's inverted as soon as Sator dies.
As soon as he dies. All right, that makes a little bit more sense. This movie definitely makes your brain hurt, though.
It really does.
Especially with, I think for me, my style of time travel movies, I like time travel movies where timelines are malleable because it feels like what they do has effects.
I totally get that, yeah.
Yeah, like Back to the Future. Oh, Marty, don't bang your mom. That's weird.
Yeah.
That's weird, but also you're going to erase yourself from the timeline.
I work at the Boys and Girls Club, and there's this kid, he was like, Can we watch Back to the Future? I was like, no. I was like,
No.
I'm not about to do that.
No,
Sorry, bud.
we don't want to raise any questions there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I totally get that. That there's the branching timelines because the end game type deal and the Back to the Future.
Yeah. But with this one, Robert Pattinson's character Neil keeps just saying, "Oh yeah, whatever's happened has happened." So it's kind of
fixed.
Yeah.
And
so
I get that. That's been a complaint of some people. Like, what's the point if it's all going to work out in the end?
Yeah.
You still have to do it. You don't know how it's going to work out. You know it is. You don't know what you have to risk.
Yeah.
You don't know, exactly. And they do mention it's a paradox. So, like, if, we're still here, so don't we succeed? And he's like, it's a paradox. We don't know. We gotta fill it out.
We still have to do it to see if we do succeed.
Yeah. And you can, break that down even further, but that's just how I see it.
Yeah.
You still have to, like, what's happened. That's kind of like the saying.
Yeah.
But what's going to happen is gonna happen, and you gotta kind of do that. So.
Time is confusing like
that.
It
really is.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same. I was gonna say, like, it felt like they didn't have any free will in whatever they did, and I was gonna just compare that real quick to, like, the whole God, like, being omniscient argument thing, where people go, well, if he knows everything that's gonna happen, do we have free will? It's just such a confusing concept to think about. Because, like, well, I feel like I have free will, but God knows what I'm about to do, so does that mean I do? And it's just, it's such a mind-boggling thing to think about.
Yeah, and he was definitely playing with that in this movie. They bring up free will, so...
Yeah.
Like, he says, how did I pick up the bullet without touching it? And he's like,
I think it was, like,
from
intuition,
your perspective, you picked it up, but from the bullet's perspective, you dropped it. So,
yeah.
There's so many, like, interesting facets it dives into. Like the temporal pincer. Yeah. The inverted bullet wound that they have to heal because of the radiation and all that. Like, there's so many, like, different ideas he plays with throughout this movie. And, I think it really does work. Yeah. Especially, I'm looking forward to seeing it again. I really am. Not soon, but just to see if there's anything else I pick up on. Yeah. And it is intentionally confusing, especially the first, like, halfway through the car chase sequence when Sator walks in and you're like, and he's, inverted and he's saying the lines, and then he comes out, on the other side and he's uninverted and you're like,
It's like,
what is happening? Like,
yeah.
how do it, you know?
And how would he know exactly
Yeah.
what to say to get him to say whatever he did say?
Yeah, you know, and then it's revealed that he was doing kind of like the pincer deal.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
all
the
that.
the temporal pincer is probably like my favorite concept of this,
Yeah.
where it's two different groups attacking from two different points in time.
Yeah.
And it's just it's a pretty neat concept that is executed very well in this.
And I love the exploding building, how it goes.
Yeah,
You know,
they
like-
attack two different points, and it works.
Yeah.
It literally
And
just
the
forms up.
only
And just,
reason they're like, we need a distraction, you know, and it's like, you know, like that's not a great reason, but
Yeah.
I'll take it just so I can see it.
seeing a
happen,
building
you know?
form only to just immediately blow up is
Yeah.
distracting. I will say that.
Yeah, I'd be like, whoa.
Whoa,
You know,
what
I'd
is
be distracted
happening?
by, you know. So,
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Good stuff. You want? We should probably actually talk about the story.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about it a
a
little bit.
little, slightly.
Yeah, it's very confusing.
Yeah.
But you kind of get to piece it together
Yeah.
where the protagonist, which I'm not a fan of just him being called the protagonist, but he gets recruited into Tenet because some crap happens and he decides to take a cyanide pill
Yeah.
rather than reveal information on the CIA, I think is what he worked
Yeah.
for. And then he joins Tenet, figures out what inversion is, and he has to stop this guy from putting all the pieces together of the algorithm and inverting Earth to destroy everything.
Well, I think the reasoning was like the world was, you know, destructed in the future. It was
They said it was
decayed.
like destroyed by climate change
Yeah.
and all that.
So their thinking was, if we destroy the people who set that into motion, if we just stop them, if we just cut it off, it will never have happened. I mean, that's their thinking.
Yeah.
So would it even work? Who knows?
Who knows?
You know, so
The point is it didn't because it's a fixed timeline.
yes. Yep.
Yeah. Breaking it down like that makes it a little more simple. I think
Yes.
just the way it's presented
The
makes
way,
it very confusing.
yeah, I think my biggest problems with this movie come with the presentation of some of the concepts,
Yeah.
and like, I wish the story was presented in a more just natural way, because your brain's already being overloaded.
Yeah.
You know, it already is. Because the first half is very story based and the second half is very Tenet based.
Tenet-based,
very
yeah.
concept based.
Yeah. And then there's also the added element that the protagonist has been working for himself the whole the
Yes.
protagonist is the guy I think who started Tenet
Yes.
and recruited him.
Yep, in the future.
Yeah.
And the entire movie itself is a temporal pincer movement, with
yeah.
Neil being the kind of one that sees it through. So,
Yeah.
I really do think there's a pretty solid emotional appeal with Kat's story.
Yeah.
I think she's the strongest character.
Yeah, her or Neil, I think, for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think Kat gets a bit annoying where it's like the world constantly it's the world is at risk, the world's gonna get destroyed. She says, "Oh no, and my son's gonna die."
That's
I know
But
you
with her being like in this inescapable relationship,
Yes.
and there's nothing she can do. I think that's the best character stuff in the movie,
Mm-hmm.
and I think Sator was a very intimidating presence.
Yeah, and
It's-
especially if you look
yeah.
at it as a James Bond movie, like he works
He's a
very
total
well as
villain.
he
Yeah.
works very well as a James
Totally.
Bond villain.
Yeah,
But speaking of Sator, I pulled up the picture before, but Sator is named after the Sator Square, which I guess was a major inspiration for
Yes.
Tenet. But this is the first time I'm seeing it. So you got Sator at the top, then Arepo,
Repo.
Tenet, Opera, Rotus,
Which-
and
what was Rotus again?
I think Rotus is just Sator
Sator
backwards.
backwards.
But
Okay.
it is a square in which every single way you can turn it, it will spell the same
Yeah.
thing, which is a really cool concept. And I guess I would assume this is where Nolan got his inspiration for the movie.
Arepo is opera backwards.
Yeah.
I'm tracking.
Yeah. Oh, they did
Okay.
mention Arepo too.
Yeah,
Holy
Arepo
cow.
is each one of these names is an element in the movie. So obviously Tenet, you got Sator, you got Arepo, who's the artist who she got the forgeries from.
Yes.
Who made the 2 forgeries. Tenet, obviously. Opera
is where they start out in the movie.
I think Rotus was an element of the movie.
Okay.
I don't think they would go that far and leave that off.
Yeah.
But yeah, each one of the words, forwards or backwards, is an element within the movie.
Yeah.
So that's super cool.
That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like he took just a square of words and essentially made it a movie.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yep.
But yeah, it's cool that that's the whole idea of just backwards, forwards, time, and like you said earlier, the concept in which they travel through time it isn't like an instant we flash there. It's we're walking through time. Mm-hmm. If we're gonna go back a week before, we're waiting a week.
Yeah.
We gotta wait a week.
Well, yeah, that's what like Kat has to lay low for a week until her, self from that timeline goes back, and then she's good. She's free. So, yeah.
I think that's all I really had that I wanted to talk about. I know you brought up some theories, a couple of theories you've seen around.
So the big one, and the one I subscribe to the most, and I think it's pretty feasible, is that Neil is Max, Kat's son, which gives a bigger kind of role to him because he's just a kid. Mm-hmm. He's just there.
Yeah.
So there's like the very first thing that Neil says when you good, bro?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
Sorry, something got stuck in my throat.
The very first thing that Neil says whenever he meets the protagonist meets him, is he says, "Would you take a child hostage? How about a woman?" So at this time, he's a child. His mother's a woman, so he's just kind of testing the waters to see where this guy's state of mind's at. Mm-hmm. So his name's Neil. This one, I've seen it going around online. So Max could be short for Maximilian. The last 4 letters of Maximilian backwards are Neil. So that's an interesting element. And then, there was another one. Oh, yeah. Christopher Nolan said that Neil might not even be his actual name. So I think that builds upon that. But the biggest element, the biggest part, I think, is that you're in the car heist scene. There's chatter on the radio, and the protagonist says, "What's he saying?" And Neil says, "I don't know." And the protagonist says, "I thought you spoke Estonian." And he said, "It's not Estonian, it's backwards." Why would Neil, of all people, know Estonian?
Yeah.
So, if I'm trying to tell my theory, Garrett. All right.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm dying over here. I don't know what's going on.
Did you get one of those things in your throat where you just like can't talk at all?
Yeah.
I totally.
It's like
get
right
that.
there. Just keep talking.
Okay.
I'm getting some water.
I'm gonna keep going. All right. So, where was I at? Oh yeah. Why would you don't just kind of learn Estonian? That's not really a language you just sort of learn. So if he was the son of Sator, he grew up, his father spoke Estonian, that'd make perfect sense. So it does get a little convoluted with like the timeline. Like is he just going back and forth between this period of time? Because obviously he's got to go forward if he can go backwards. But like, how does he end up, at this time period where he's a child, but also, a man. So it does get a little convoluted there. But I do think it's a pretty solid theory and holds a lot of water. And there is some other stuff going around, but that's the only theory I think I really subscribe to and I think is solid. So.
Yeah. Well, you also have the element of Kat knowing about time travel and that kind of stuff in version.
Yes. And Neil has like a master's in like quantum physics, so his mom Kat might have pushed him to learn more about this technology because she knows how important it is for his well-being. So, yep.
Yeah. Sorry. That was...
You're good.
I've had allergies for the past couple of weeks. That was the worst I've had it, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I completely forgot. What were the other theories? There was like a theory that... Shoot. You mentioned this last night, and I can't remember now. I'm still recovering from the coffee.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a plausible theory.
Yeah, totally.
I could definitely buy it just because, like, it largely makes sense, and it doesn't...
Yeah.
I don't think it, like... I think the only thing that would stop it is that it doesn't really have any, like, of any importance, I guess.
Yeah.
It's just a fun thing.
Yeah. But I think it's, like... It's weird to have a throwaway line, like, I thought you spoke Estonian, you know? So,
Yeah.
like, why would that be there unless it's actually hinting towards something?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I cannot remember the other theories.
can't
I
either.
could have sworn there were other ones.
The girl who shows him, like, the Tenet stuff.
Yeah, she's the one who, like, there's a theory that she's the one who created
The
algorithm.
Yeah, because she
And killed herself.
Yeah. And all you have to go off of that is that Priya mentions a scientist. And she says she, so she refers to her as a woman. And
Yeah, and that's
that
the
girl's
only woman
obviously a
scientist in the
woman.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
You want to make that headcanon? You know,
I'll make
it'll
it
be
headcanon.
fine. Yeah,
Who cares?
who cares?
No effect.
You can't tell
Doesn't
me it's
matter.
wrong.
Yeah. I remember there were theories going around before this came out that it was like a secret sequel to Inception.
Yeah.
And it was like...
Don't see it at all.
No. Well, it was like literally whenever the teaser was released, like a year before it came out. And it was like...
Trippy visuals.
Well, it was like 10. The Inception came out 10 years ago.
Oh,
And
okay.
Tenet was coming out in 10, you know.
Yeah,
and it's
okay.
about going backwards, and that's it.
Yeah.
that was it. That was really it. It's got 10 in the name. It came out 10 years after Inception, and it's about going
Obviously,
backwards.
it must be about Inception then.
Of course.
I mean,
So-
it makes perfect sense. There's no flawed logic
Yeah.
whatsoever.
And I was thinking about this last night, but I think a lot of people don't click with this movie as much because the concept is so strictly, like, applicable to the movie. Like with Inception, you know, you're thinking like, wow, what would I dream about? What would I do with this, you know, like, how, you know, like...
What would I do if I could enter people's dreams?
You're doing this, like, personal application of the ideas presented. But with Tenet, it's like you're so caught up in trying to figure out the physics of what's going on in the movie itself, you don't really want to, you know, think about your own self going backwards in time, or like how that would, you know, what you would do with this technology.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's more you trying to figure out the concept. And I feel like that's a lot of the ways with time travel movies is you want to figure out how they're going to apply it. Because time travel is approached differently by a lot of people.
Yeah.
There, you know, you have Back to the Future. The timeline's malleable. You have to correct it. Avengers Endgame.
Yeah.
It's fixed, but if you change anything, it creates a parallel timeline.
Yeah.
And then with this, everything is fixed. So you have to figure out the logistics of how the timeline works first.
Totally.
And then you have to figure out how they're going to be able to travel through time and all. And
But that's, for me, that's enough.
yeah.
You know,
well,
like,
and especially if that's what the movie is about. Something like Back to the Future, it is about Marty and his, like,
far more character driven.
Yeah, it's Marty trying to, like, kind of connect with his father and his mom, building a relationship with Doc Brown. Like, that's the whole point of the movie there. This is about, here's this concept. And for what that is, it works.
Yeah. And I've got one more, like, complaint, and it's
Whoa, getting negative.
Getting negative. Yeah. Priya felt kind of just disconnected.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's one line of dialogue that I missed that I'd be like, oh, okay, that's her place in all this.
Yeah.
But other than just being a weapons dealer, and it's really hard to pinpoint where she stands, whose side she's on.
Because it's like you're introduced to her as the wife of a major arms dealer.
Yeah.
And then she's like, oh, but I know about inversion. And then she just becomes the person
well,
that...
she is the arms dealer.
Oh, she is?
Yes,
okay.
that's the twist.
Okay, I thought it was like
she
was the wife of the arms dealer, but she had this whole other thing going on.
No. Okay. She's the one who's running. And she said like something like that's for her protection. She hides behind his like so it's like an extra layer of working in the shadows.
Smokes and mirrors.
Yeah. So I really like that element of hers, like, because even like the protagonist, up until he got there, he didn't know she was running the organization.
Yeah.
So,
but then where I get lost is like she's the arms dealer, and then suddenly now she is the go-to person for him to figure out stuff about time travel, and like she seems to be a very high-ranking official. It would make more
sense for her to go back to the girl.
Yeah.
To
scientist
iron
lady.
Out some of the things he doesn't know.
Yeah, because with her, it was like she was they treated her like an enemy combatant.
I think actually, never mind. I take that back, because I think she knows more about Sator and the people from the future than the girl who. Because I think she just knows about the artifacts, and she's ironing out the physics of how it all works. But she kind of knows, like, what their plan is. She knows more in that area.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Okay. Yeah. I have nothing further to comment on.
I think we covered it pretty well.
Yeah. I mean, not to be biased or anything.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be unbiased, but I think we did it pretty well.
I think we did all right.
Despite me almost dying in the middle of it.
That's about it. How's our time looking? Are we?
We're about an hour 17 into it.
17?
So pretty average for
pretty average
what we do. Yeah. I think my average time is like an hour 18.
Hour 18.
But this is the first time I get to do this with a guest, because last time Duncan was here, I forgot to do it. But we have two segments at the end of our podcast.
Yeah.
First one is Release Radar, which is basically just here's some big-ish projects, shows, movies that are coming out this weekend for people to check out. So we got... Whoa.
Sorry.
Nice. Way to kick the camera. We have F9 is the big one.
F9.
Yeah.
The titles get worse and worse as they go on.
So confusing. I wouldn't be surprised if the next one is
my
FX.
My favorite title is the fourth one. Because instead of the Fast and the Furious, it's just Fast and Furious.
Yeah. Fast and Furious.
Remove the.
Yes. Yeah. I saw someone saying that F10 should just be fasten your seatbelts.
Fasten your seatbelt, please.
That would be amazing. Yeah. I have not seen any of these movies, so I could not care less. I haven't seen any.
Whoa.
So I could not care less about this. But for the people who don't know, the premise is Cypher, who's played by, what's her face? I forget her name. Charlize Theron.
Charlize Theron?
Yes. Yeah. Enlists the help of Jacob, Dom's younger brother, who is played by John Cena.
Okay.
To take revenge on Dom and his team for reasons that I'm sure were explained in previous movies. Yeah. I mean, they're dumb, fun movies. As Sean Chandler, I'm gonna just like reference him all the time until he joins. Until he joins the podcast. No. These are Taco Bell movies, as he would call them. They're just, you go sit down and enjoy it and get basically nothing out of it.
Yeah.
We have season 2 of Central Park, which is made by the guy who did Bob's Burgers.
Oh.
That's the only reason I'm putting it on here. It's a Apple TV Plus original. I haven't seen the first season, but it's like a musical adult animated series, which sounds fun. literally have no idea if it's any good. But it tells the story of how a family of caretakers who live and work in Central Park end up saving the park and basically the world. That is verbatim what it's about. Yeah, I'm sure it'll be fun. Fans of Bob's Burgers will probably like it. Next we have False Positive, which I think is an A24 movie.
Really?
I saw a review posted saying it was an A24 movie because this does not seem like an A24 movie. I think it's like a comedy thing about a woman who wants to have a baby, but has a very hard time conceiving, and she goes to a fertility doctor. But there's an unsettling truth about him that her and her husband uncover. So it seems like it could be fun. The fertility doctor is played by Pierce Brosnan, so I'm sure it'll be a fun movie. And if it's A24, I'll check it out.
Yeah.
The Ice Road's on Netflix. It is the next Liam Neeson movie about a dude trying to go from one place to another with a caravan of trucks going on literally a road that is just an iced over body of water. So it could be fun.
Sounds lit.
Yeah. Bosch Season 7's coming out on Amazon Prime. Long-running show that a lot of people really like. It's a cop show about, dude working trials. I've heard it's good. I've been meaning to check it out. And then finally, Apple TV Plus has a documentary coming out called Who Are You, Charlie Brown? And it's about the creation of the Peanuts. And that is a franchise that I grew up with.
Nice.
So I've been a fan of these documentaries about like childhood heroes.
Mm-hmm.
The Mr. Rogers documentary was really good.
I love that as well.
So I want to see this one. And I think something I forgot to put on the list. I think Batman: The Long Halloween Part 1 came out this weekend.
Yeah, I think I saw something.
I've been seeing a lot of reviews for it, so check that out. I'm sure that's just direct to DVD.
Yeah.
So yeah, if any of those sound interesting, it's a lot of stuff was released this week. If any of that sounds interesting, go check it out.
All out this week.
All out this weekend.
Wow.
Yes. So check all of that out if you want to, or not. It's your decision. Make your decision what you will. And then the other segment we end with is the weekly recommendation. Yeah. I told you to bring one. I don't know if you
didn't.
You didn't?
No.
You monster. Think of one while I talk about my recommendation. So, my recommendation this week is The Wish Dragon. I mentioned it a few weeks back when it first came out. And I've been seeing a lot of terrible negative reviews for it.
Really?
Yeah, it has gotten largely like middling to negative reviews.
When did it come out?
I think 2 weeks ago. But I thought it was a very charming family movie. I had a lot of fun with it. I watched it yesterday, right before we watched Tenet with my little brother, and he liked it. Granted, he also was running around with the dogs and on his freaking hoverboard, but he seemed to like it. I just think it's very enjoyable. I think the main thing people have a knock against it is the animation, which admittedly is kind of garbage.
Yeah.
At least I will say the character designs and the background suck. The actual like movement speed of is like similar to Hotel Transylvania, where it's really smooth but really fast. I like that.
I wasn't gonna say anything, but like you were watching it with Nathan a little bit last night, and I walked in for like the tail end, and I was like, "This doesn't look great."
Yeah.
That was my. I mean, I'm sure. Stories there, but it honestly reminded me of the Dream music video.
Yeah.
That was the first thing I thought of when I saw the dude. I was like, oh.
Yeah,
okay.
I don't like the character designs. I think the only character design that works is the dragon.
Yeah.
But for me, the animation was smooth, that it worked, and I like most of the characters. The main bad guy, kind of garbage. He's voiced by, I think, a comedian. But he's trying to be like really serious, and his line delivery is just not good.
Yeah.
But I think the dragon goes through a really good character arc. People say it's too much like Aladdin. It's an Aladdin ripoff. I think it's different enough. Like it hits similar beats, like the guy wanting to be a prince. But Aladdin is about a peasant guy falling in love with a princess and wanting to get in her pants, so he uses a very friendly genie to do that. This movie is about a guy wanting to reconnect with his friend, his best friend that moved away, and trying to figure out how to best approach it, enlisting the help of a guy who hates him, a dragon who hates him. He's classist. He looks down on poor people, and he just wants to get it over with. So the main arc with Wish Dragon is the dragon. The dragon has to go through self-discovery, whereas Aladdin's kind of the main like character arc. So I think it works really well. I know some of the reviews I've seen, most reviews have been negative, and there's been 2 reviews that have been really positive. Like, I saw one person say it's nearly perfect.
Wow.
Which I wouldn't say that, but if you need a fun family movie to watch, this will work.
Yeah.
Although they do have characters. Long gets drunk in one scene, but that's outside of that, perfectly good family film.
I gotcha.
Yeah. You figure out what you want to recommend?
Have you recommended Lake Mungo?
I did.
Dang
but
it.
you can recommend it again.
I recommend
Shoot.
Lake Mungo.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna recommend, the Little Rascals movie from 1994. All right.
That's
my
Hidden Gem.
The Hidden Gem. That's my recommendation. All right. So I watched this at the Boys and Girls Club the other week, and it's a pretty charming movie. I watched it a lot as a kid, and I was interested to see how it turns up and holds up, and it doesn't turn up. It's not that kind of movie. All right. But the whole time I was just like, this movie must have been an absolute nightmare to film, because every character in that movie is 8. I cannot comprehend trying to get 8-year-olds to say lines for like 6 hours at a time.
That would
so I've got a lot of respect for the movie, just for that, and it's a pretty fun movie, and that's it. If you want a charming little hour and 20-minute kids movie that's pretty goofy, and it pays homage to the classic slapstick. Mm-hmm. There's some like sped up elements that look like the old
like
Buster
cartoons.
Keaton, Charlie Chaplin era.
Yeah.
So it's got a couple tongue-in-cheek jokes. It's a fun time. I enjoyed myself. Out of all the movies we watch at the Boys and Girls Club, that was one of the better ones.
That's one of the.
And that might just be nostalgia talking.
Yeah.
Because I did watch that a ton as a kid, but.
I have a confession to make.
What?
I haven't seen Little Rascals.
My
siblings used to watch the crap out of it when we were kids, and I just never did.
Yeah.
Like that and like the Goonies were like the 2 big like movies that kids that I knew talked about. Were like, oh, fun, great movies, and I just never watched.
Yeah, I mean, you're not missing much. I mean, it's not like groundbreaking. It's not one of the better movies I've seen. But it's one of the more recent ones. Yeah. And obviously you have not recommended it before, so checks that box.
Yeah. So our weekly recommendations: Wish Dragon, Little Rascals,
both children's movies.
Solid children's movies.
Yeah.
But sure, I'll also recommend again Lake Mungo if you want something.
Lake Mungo.
Something that's
keep you up at night.
Yeah, something to keep you up at night. Yeah. More depressing and for not 8-year-olds.
Not children.
So
I don't know how scary children would find that movie.
Lake Mungo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it has to do with just kind of like the building of the. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'm underestimating.
It would probably require you to pay attention.
A lot. Yeah.
A lot to it.
I don't know. I remember as a kid, I would watch those ghost, like shows where they were ghost hunters and whatever. Yeah. And obviously, it's all staged, it's all fake, and whatever.
What are you talking about? I thought that was all real.
This is just like a way better, more professionally done version of those.
Yeah.
So it might actually scare them.
It admits it's fake.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that has been our recommendations. Final score on Tenet. I think both of us give it an 8.
I'm leaning strong 8. Light 9, honestly.
9. All right.
I really like it. And I fully get the complaints. Mm-hmm. It's not for everyone. And if it does try way too hard sometimes.
Yeah.
But in the end, I think it pulls it off. And yeah.
Yeah.
It is a blast to figure out.
It is very much a visual puzzle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So go check out.
If anything, it's ambitious.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very much.
That's
I would say
that's
it's the most.
one word I would describe this movie with: ambitious.
I would
Does that
describe
mean
it
it pulls
as,
it off? Up to you.
Yeah. I would say it is very Nolian.
Nolan.
It is the most Christopher
I only
Nolan.
watch Nolan movies,
Yes.
buddy. All right.
But yeah, go check out Tenet if you haven't.
I will say, I'm looking forward to Nolan trying something a bit simpler on the next go round.
Yeah, something that doesn't
Take
hurt
a break
my brain.
from the heavy concepts and all that. So
Yeah, so go check out Tenet. Go check out Witch Dragon, Little Rascals, and Lake Mungo.
Yeah. All four of them.
Yeah, all four of
Great
them.
movies.
Yeah, yep, and make your own opinions of them.
Thank you, Karsten.
Yes, you're welcome. It is me, Karsten Runquist. We'll just reference random
Yeah.
YouTubers until they
Until
acknowledge us.
eventually we
So, thank you for joining us. Today has been the Cinema Lounge podcast.
thought you were about to say the 26th.
Today's
What the heck? Why are you
Today
saying
is the
date?
26th in which we are recording it. It's just like the one-line delivery in Tenet where she's like,
Oh, she was. Yeah, what was that?
I forgot what it was. I think she was like pouring her heart out or something, and he like hugs her. And he's like, today is the 28th or whatever.
Today's the day of the. Yeah, like in the middle of a conversation, he's just.
Today's
the
the
day of the
14th.
siege.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like today's May 14th.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Thanks,
good.
man. Great conversation. But yes, this has been the Cinema Lounge podcast. If you guys are watching on YouTube, go click the like button and do all the things there.
I'm gonna like it.
Yeah, you're gonna like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, leave us a comment. What do you think about Tenet? What do you think about our weekly recommendations? Anything else? Leave us a comment down below. Hit the subscribe button to check out more episodes where we're still very awkward in front of the camera.
Right.
But yeah.
Here's what I've noticed. It takes us like 3 minutes to get going, and then the last 3 minutes we don't know how to close. But everything in the middle is pretty.
Everything in
natural.
the middle is perfect.
So
we get it once we get
out
into
the
it.
intro and the end.
Hey, that's how I write essays. I don't
Yeah.
know how the mess to begin or end.
But
yeah, press subscribe if you're watching on Spotify, any of the streaming platforms. Follow us there. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast. I'm uploading to Rumble now, which is a YouTube alternative.
nice.
So if you're watching on Rumble, I think you subscribe on there. Leave us a Rumble and all that fun stuff. Yeah, this has been the Cinema Lounge podcast. I've been your host, Garrett. This has been our guest, Broc Ingold. Thank you for joining me.
I'm glad to be here.
Yes, and hopefully he'll come back again one day.
I'll come
I
back
know.
in 6 months.
Yeah, I know. Well, our first episode or our second, I hyped you up as like the co-host,
Yeah.
and then you just vanished.
I vanished. I went to Arkadelphia.
Yes, but yeah, this has been the Cinema Lounge podcast. I hope everyone has a great day. I love you all, and I'm trying to think of a Tenet quote because I usually end with those stuff.
What's happened,
Like
happened.
what's happened, so don't worry about it. We love you. Have a great day. Good night.